Okay.
This is Ken with the nabwmt. I'm doing another series of Skype calls and recording people on the board of directors and volunteers. I am happy to say Robert Graham from just outside Atlanta, yes,
Correct.
he'll tell you all about that, is here, and he's going to chat a little bit about the organization, his chapter, his life, and other things. So, welcome, Robert.
Well, thank you, Ken. I'm glad I could be here.
Good. So, we're going to kick off by asking a little bit about your background, a brief history of maybe your education, your background, or whatever you choose to say. You know, what are you doing? What's your job? I think you're an engineer, as I recall. Is that right?
That's correct. I'm actually an engineer for the Georgia Department of Transportation. Um, Started my education at a small school here in Northwest Atlanta. Graduated back in 2005. Around that time, I was just really starting to get into the organization, BWMT. Um, Started out just as a regular member, just coming to potlucks and going to our bowling nights and our dine outs. Uh, I like the organization, so I decided to try to get involved. Join the board. Uh, at one point, I served various roles on the steering committee board, from just being a member at large, um, secretary, and at one point I was a co-chair. Like I said, I just like what the organization was about and the things they were doing in the community. So,
Well, that's awesome. It sounds like you've done a lot of stuff at the local chapter. So, is the chapter pretty active? Is it mostly social? Is it political, or both? Or how would you describe it to somebody who wants to come and visit you guys?
well, I would say for the longest time we were more of a social organization. At least that was my experience when I first came on board. We're slowly starting to get more and more into the political side of it. We're back into the political side of it. I think a lot of it just has to do with things going on in the world right now, from gay rights and gay issues, and also with the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Um, a lot of the things we're doing now is more of the writing letters, talking to different media outlets. Whenever we see a story, we may, like I said, either write the mayor, the governor, or we've done letter campaigns to different state legislators as well.
That's cool. Listen, on Black Lives Matter, I know our local chapter. I belong to Black and White Men Together of Southern California. We have pretty good contact with these folks, and they're A, young, B, somewhat disruptive, and I'm okay with that, and C, um, they seem to want to lead and not follow. And since I'm a product of I guess the 60s, 70s, the peace movement, the justice movements, I'm okay with it. It's my turn to sit back and watch young folks do that. Do you have joint meetings with them? Do you go to some of their events, or is it mostly from the side you boost them?
Well, I try to do a little bit of both when I can. I mean, I have a very busy schedule. I mean, I'm volunteer with a lot of different organizations, but I mean, I'm more of the, sometimes I guess I would say, yeah, I'm definitely more of the behind the scenes person.
And that's probably characteristic of a lot of scientists and engineers. They just want to get the job done or do something useful rather than perhaps get out there in force. But that's, I think, probably an appropriate thing to do because you're involved with a lot of different stuff. So at the chapter, how do they manage the setting up of the board? Is it an election that occurs, or is it anyone wants to involve whatever you can do for us be on the board, or a steering committee in your case? How does it work?
Well, every November at our member appreciation, we have a general election, and honestly, anybody who wants to be on the board can. There was one point where we had, if you got one vote, you were on the board, but we recently changed our bylaws because we had a lot of I mean, I hate to call them dead weight, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you had people who just wanted to join the board who weren't really, they had their own, I guess you could say, malicious intent. Maybe they were looking for something that we're not
I
really
hear
offering,
you.
if you know what I
I
mean.
hear you.
So now we changed our bylaws. I think it has to be, I think it's like 1/3 of the voting members present have to elect you, or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure of the wording in our bylaws, but
So, do you charge a membership fee?
yes, we do. From what I hear, ours is probably one of the lower ones out of all the other chapters. It's $20 for a single person and $30 for a couple. And a few years ago, we actually instated a policy trying to attract more younger members that if you're a current college student with a valid ID, we actually only charge you, I believe it's $10, 10 or 15.
So you give a student discount.
Correct.
That's cool. I put your mind at rest because our chapter charges 25, and then for two people, we used to charge 40. But then the folks that weren't married or partnered or old friends together, they said, wait, that's not right. You can't just because they're married and I'm single, they get a different rate. So right now it's $25 per person. So we have about, I think, 45 people, paid members, and lots of people that don't pay, but we occasionally see them. So it's easy to manage. Good. So let's move from the chapter, a very active chapter, by the way. If you guys are in that area, be sure to look up the chapter because they are a fun chapter. And I definitely would say it's worth a visit, as all of the chapters are. Usually they're open to events. There may be one or two events there where they make it membership because of cost involved. But in any event, go see these guys. So you're now on the NA board. Is that a promotion or a demotion?
I guess it depends on how you look at it.
That's right.
It's just
It's what it is. It's what it is. Okay. So how did they either A, lure you, B, how did you volunteer, or C, how did you put your arms up and say, this is what I've got to do? Any one of the above? Just teasing.
Well, pretty much it started, it's probably 2 or 3 years ago. People had been hinting at, a few people came to me and asked me if I would want to join the national board to get involved. Because that's one of the things everybody's always talking about is attracting younger members. And I guess I'm one of the younger members in the organization as a whole.
Right.
And then this past convention, it was more of a strong suggestion that I joined the board. My name just ended up on the ballot somehow.
Question. Were you there when you were on the ballot, or were you in absentia?
I was not actually there.
All right.
They asked, I was asked, and I said, that's fine. I'll give it a try.
Well,
and then I found out later that my name was actually already on the ballot before I agreed to it, so, which was fine. I mean, right. I believe in this organization, so I have no problem helping out, at least trying. So I said I would try, give it one term, see what kind of effect I can make, and just go from there.
I'm sure you'll contribute, and we're just teasing here because you won't be shanghaied if you go to a convention and step out the doors briefly, although. We come in different ways, in different manners to our organization, and once you get there, you tend to like it. So, you're on the board. What's your favorite committee? Of course, if you're on the board, you have to be on the committee, I suppose. What are you planning to do? What have they assigned?
Trying to believe there's about 3 or 4 committees I'm on. I would say probably my favorite would be the media and communications committee. I've always been kind of a social person anyway, so I like getting out, communicating with people, having conversations, just talking to people, see, what's going on. What do you need from us?
That's cool. So actually, that's one of the important ones because they cover that, covers the website, it covers the Facebooks, the chapters, It covers press releases, so it's a big job. There's a lot of people on there, and certainly I know you'll contribute. If somebody wanted to join the NA, what would be the big number one reason that you would suggest they do that? I know it depends on what people want to do, but what would be the best thing about the NA?
Well, I would say for me personally,
Okay.
I love the camaraderie and just the family atmosphere. I've talked to people many a times, like when I go to a convention or just if I go to another city and there's happens to be a chapter there or people there I know, it's not like I'm going to see friends. It's more like I'm going to see my family, my brothers.
Excellent.
So for me, I would say that. So for anybody who is out there looking for, I guess you could say a family, I believe that, the NA is a great place.
Yeah, I can echo that one because I've been with the organization about 11 years now, and I think I've visited most of the chapters and had a warm welcome for it. So to me, that's one of the main features. Plus, I'm very active on fighting racism and homophobia, which are the two prime statements of purpose for our organization. And with that in mind, can we talk a little bit about maybe your interaction in the social arena in terms of being aware, being engaged in either anti-racism or anti-homophobia, or actually been influenced, or you've been in a covert situation where racisms occur? Has it been a big deal in your life, as it is with most black men, especially of your age and younger? And I can rephrase the question. It's a big question. It really says, what's happened to you in terms of racism and homophobia?
Well, I would say that racism has had a bigger part of my life, bigger influence than the actual homophobic side too.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you can look at me and tell I'm black. I mean, as simple as that's.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, I might not, when you first meet me, you probably won't notice that, I'm gay.
Certainly, you don't act gay, if that's whatever that means in society.
Yeah.
So I understand.
I don't have feminine tendencies. I think most people would say that.
Right.
But I've dealt with racism for the most part my whole life. I probably don't have the horror stories like some people do, but I mean, I remember being in the third grade, and that was the first time I was called the N-word. And I mean, to me at that age, I knew what the word meant, but it wasn't like a stabbing pain when the kid said it to me. Right. It was just, whatever.
Yeah, and it builds up, no doubt. All these microaggressions is the new word for it that really can be debilitating. So, as our viewers probably know, the organization is trying to fight these things. And, we've been doing that for 30 years, but it seems more and more like the situation is getting somewhat worse and worse. We talked about Black Lives Matter. And it's a very difficult situation, but hopefully we'll make some progress on that. It's Black History Month, and do you know who your heroes are or have been? It can even be your third grade teacher who rescued you from the bullies in the class. Anyone really made an impact in your life. It could be family or friends or famous people or entertainers. It's up to you.
I guess I would say my parents, but mostly my mom.
Okay.
I would say both my parents because they were both hard workers and they showed me what it meant to, have drive to do something. My father, he's a police officer. My mother's a teacher.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So I grew up in a somewhat strict household, and it's all about, if you want something, you have to go get it. You have to earn it. Nobody's going to give you anything. If it's free, it comes at a price.
Absolutely. And as you probably know, I have a black husband too, and his favorite expression is when you're gay and black, especially if you're black, you have to work twice as hard, be twice as careful, and do twice as much work. And that's probably the situation with a lot of African Americans. Well, that covers it. I guess I've got to know you a lot better, even though I know your name and I've certainly seen you around. And I really appreciate the fact that you've taken time out of your busy schedule to talk to us. The NA recognizes your service. We appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Anytime.
All right. So that was Robert Graham. This is the NABWMT, and we're doing a Skype interview in a series. I ask you to check in with our podcasts, our blogs, our site, nabwmt.org, and all of our chapters, including and not eliminating Atlanta. When you get to that central part of the world, go see Robert, go see the National, and go see Atlanta. It's Ken signing out for now. Again, thanks a lot, Robert. We'll be in touch.